What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Jake Shavink here, and a couple quick announcements before I get into this video. First, approaching 100 subscribers, so I appreciate y'all for that. Once we get there, doing a little live mock draft with Packers fans, probably Friday night. That's the hope. So be there for sure. And then other thing is, done this in the past 4 years actually in a row. This will be the fifth live stream for the NFL draft, days 1 and 2. Going to start about 15 minutes before the draft starts on Thursday, and then all the way through on Friday, covering the first 3 rounds of the draft. So be on the lookout for that as well. Going to be on YouTube or Twitter live. So look out for that. But today, obviously, you're here for a video. So let's dive in. First of many positional rankings here on the channel. We're going to start with tight ends. I think what an underrated position to cover, truthfully. I enjoy looking at the tight end position. Better class than last year, let's put it that way. Obviously, the top, we know who it's going to be, number 1. But it's interesting, I think, going through about the second couple tiers and then probably that back end of the top 10. So let's dive in, look at our top 10 tight ends in the 2021 NFL Draft. So obviously, we're starting off with Kyle Pitts. Easy number 1. This will be most people's number 1. I think he's a top 5 player in this class. You'll see he got a really high grade from me, an 8.8, a top 10 grade in this class. Just elite traits across the board, really, with Kyle Pitts. Again, he can vary up his release. He can win on the outside, on the perimeter against, corners. Can win, obviously, over the middle of the field. Will eat up linebackers for lunch. Field stretcher, a vertical threat. Great in-air athleticism to adjust to the football, the high point of the football. He'll win in the red zone and win in contested spots. A smooth route runner who can win on the slant route. Really impressive stuff. And he does really have good nuance with his hands to create open windows, to create space for himself in his stem, in his routes. Just incredible player. One of those guys that doesn't come around very often. So enjoy watching him, and I think he's going to make a huge impact, obviously, at the next level. Number 2 on the board here, I think Pat Freiermuth's kind of in his own tier, really, as the second tight end in this class. Said, obviously, a 7.8 grade for me, early second. I think he's just well-rounded, probably the most well-rounded tight end in the class, really. He's a stout blocker at the point of attack. You look at how strong he is, how he latches on, his leg drive. Just really good in that area. I think he's a crisp route runner for his size, for his frame. He's not the most athletic player, but I think he does a good job creating space for himself, especially the short and intermediate game. He does have the build-up speed to be a field stretcher and has it after the catch, too, to break away from defenders. Yeah, he's really good catching through contact. He survives big hits, and it looks like it doesn't bother him at all. So it's really good stuff, and he does have flash late hand usage down the field as well to create that little edge, create that separation, create some leverage for himself, and really produce. I think he's going to produce wherever he goes. Obviously, Jaguars have been a hot destination for him in mock drafts. I think he's going to be reliable and dependable from day 1. So this one's a bit of a projection, obviously, for me here. Tommy Tremble, my 3rd tight end in this class. Obviously, there's a lot of projection, especially as a receiver. Not many targets in his time at Notre Dame. But I think he's a tenacious blocker with good awareness, and that gives him a high floor to be a tight end 2 right off the bat. He's a finisher. He will come and hit you on the down block. He'll come across the formation, give you a big chip. Like I said, great awareness. Really good at where to pick up blitzers, where blitzers is coming from late. So I think he's just well-rounded in that area, just to be able to come in and protect the quarterback, almost act as a 3rd tackle of sorts. Terrific athlete. I think him testing well is why he's rising up boards. So, again, I think you see that with his movement skills, and I think he has, the ability with the straight line speed after the catch. I think he is underrated with his body control, at least when you see his targets in the passing game, and I think he's reliable, sure-handed player. And so I'll be higher on him than most. I'm okay with that. I think I've got a late second on him, and I think that, I think there's a lot of upside there with him. So Brevin Jordan and Tommy Tremble pretty much in the same tier, obviously late second round grades, very similar grading. But I think Brevin Jordan's the clear 4th. tight end in this class. He's got a good release game. He can win on the slant route a la Kyle Pitts. Another guy who's a vertical threat. He's really good speed, really good acceleration after the catch and as a vertical threat. Guy's a willing blocker. He'll stick his nose in there in the run game. He's not very technically sound in that area yet. He's still more of a move tight end rather than, a versatile player at the position. But the fact that he's willing and sticks his nose in is a good sign. I think you see rare acceleration for the position. Obviously, another great athlete. Didn't test well, but you see it on the field, the functional athleticism. And yeah, I think you see rare versatility. Go play the slot. Go, in an H-back role. So I think he can play in line as well. I think he's just got to get there. The one thing I do have an issue with him is you don't see a lot of winning at the catch point. You don't see a lot of red zone targets with him, and that's a little concerning. Obviously, the vertical wasn't great. So I that's the one concern with him is being able to produce in those situations. Number 5, Hunter Long. I think just solid is the best way to describe Hunter Long. Really reliable hands, great catch radius. He's a good adjuster to the ball. He's pretty smooth as far as his routes go. Definitely in the intermediate areas where he's going to win a lot. Competitive blocker at the point of attack. I just think he's obviously very similar to Pat Fryermuth, but I think a tier down in terms of ability. He's good linear speed after the catch. I just don't think he's at the level that some of the others in this class are. I think he's going to be a reliable player from day one. Obviously, a third-round grade from me. Just a guy who I think can be almost in a committee of tight ends and be a good role player for sure. At least at the start of his career, potentially develop into a tight end one, and I think that's where the third-round grade comes in. Number 6, Trey McKinnon, maybe the most exciting. Obviously, the darling of the Senior Bowl. Had a fantastic week down there. Excellent hands. I think the ball skills are what flash the most. He adjusts to the football well. He has excellent hands, plucker of the football, can contort his body to make plays. He'll make plays outside his frame. Just a really good receiver who's going to be a move tight end. I think he competes as a blocker. He has the frame to be a blocking tight end as well. He just has to improve with his hand placement. He has to improve as well, creating space for himself through contact because defenders are going to be physical with him. And I think he's got a good release game. I think he's very sound in that area. I think he's got really a good route tree. I think he looks refined in that area, really. I think he's got the foot quickness. He's got the ability to sink his hips to create some separation. It's just going to be the contact at the top of those routes and throughout his stem that he has to work on. So it just use his frame, work on his hand usage, and potentially become a well-rounded tight end. Third-round grade from me, similar to Hunter Long, might have more upside later in his career if he develops. Number 7 here, Kylan Grant's in the real true H-back type in this class. He's got that flexed role. He can play some slot. Speed, acceleration, quickness. He has really good movement skills. Going to want to get this guy in space to make some plays, to get some chunk plays for you. But I think he's also got some good ball skills. I think he's good at the catch point. I think you're going to be relying on him to make plays at the catch point. But again, another guy who you want to get the ball to in short spaces, get him the ball quick, let him make plays for you after the catch. He'll be able to make defenders miss. And he's got some good straight line speed as well. I think he is just really locked into that H-back role, whereas you look at a couple others, obviously, that we mentioned already, who have the ability to really grow as blockers. He gives effort as a blocker, and he's really good in space as a blocker to latch on. I just think he's going to get overpowered with his size, really, in the NFL. So I think he's really more limited to that move tight end position in that H-back role. Okay, the true upside play, the ball of clay. Number 8 here on the list, Kenny Yeboah. 6th round grade for me. Obviously, you saw Grandson at the 5th. Forgot to mention that. But yeah, Yeboah's got a 6th round grade. I think, again, the ball of clay, the upside with him. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He's linearly impressive in terms of his run after catch ability, in terms of his ability to get up the seam quickly. He'll break away in the open space. He's a red zone nightmare as well. He'll go up, get the football, strong hands, good concentration in terms of that as well. I think his route running and blocking need work. He's a ball of clay still. Needs to work on his blocking, needs to work on the nuances of route running. But again, a guy who can be on your roster to start and really work to develop into a potential tight end to potential receiving tight end in the NFL. Number 9 here on the list, Tony Poljan from Virginia, transferred from Central Michigan. An excellent blocker. I think he does a really good job at the point of attack. I think he does a good job turning defenders outside. I think he works the second level very well. Got some pancakes on the resume. In terms of his passing game, I think his upside is limited, but because how well he performs as a blocker, I think that's where teams will take the chance with him. I think he's really just reliable in the short passing game. Just, again, good hands, finds the soft spot in the zones. Just a reliable guy you can ask to move the chains, maybe on third and short, third and medium. That reliable player. And so obviously his athleticism is going to limit the upside, but I think day 3, you look for a guy who can block, who you can, rely on those underneath routes, those mesh routes. I think Poljan is definitely an option for teams. And rounding out the top 10, Noah Gray from Duke. Very close, and I'll mention a couple honorable mentions in a moment, but another move tight end, great receiving skills. I think he's a 3-level threat in terms of a receiver. Just really good straight line speed, great movement skills. Almost has that wide receiver feel at tight end. Almost looks like a Jay Sternberger of sorts. But again, I think he's like McKitty and others. He struggles heavily as a blocker. He's going to get overpowered. This is a true potential slot H-back type. Whereas Granson, I think, is a little bit better than him. I think Gray can be that slot gadget, move him around, get him some touches in the passing game type of player. Got to be able to be better in terms of contact at the catch point, contact in his stem. So again, you see a lot of similar struggles with these players in terms of the ones who are more move tight ends, but I think Noah Gray's got some upside for you as a receiver, and I think that's something worth taking a chance on day 3. So obviously we rounded out that top 10. 2 honorable mentions I want to mention for sure. John Bates, I think, is a good blocker with a large catch radius, good adjuster to the football. Another guy like Hunter Long, really, but the light version in terms of just not real production down the field in terms of a vertical threat, but can win underneath. And I think Matt Bushman may be the upside play. Guy who's fantastic on back shoulder throws, good adjuster, just short strides, which is concerning. Short strides, he struggles to separate with that linear speed. So that kind of caps his upside for me. But again, 2 guys in the 7th round grades who I think, will be potentially be drafted. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on my rankings for tight ends. A lot more coming out. Receivers and running backs will be next. So I hope you enjoy that. Like this video if you enjoyed. Maybe subscribe if you're new. Like I said, 100 subscribers. We're so close. I appreciate all of you so much. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Farewell.